On April 28th, the New Orleans Pelicans were eliminated from the 2022 NBA playoffs by the Phoenix Suns in 6 games. It was a very entertaining series and more of a fight than I'm sure any of us expected. The Pelicans now go into the offseason with their heads held high for not only taking 2 games off of the 1 seed, but for even making the postseason in the first place. You see, if I were to go back in time and ask anybody at the beginning of 2022 if the Pelicans would at least make the play-in tournament, they would have laughed straight in my gorgeous face. And honestly, I won't be able to blame them. The Pelicans started the season 1-12, and by January 1st, 2022, they were the 14th seed in the West with a record of 13-23. Granted, they were only a few games out of the 10th seed at the time, but still, the upward battle that this team was facing just to even get a chance of postseason basketball just seemed like too much to overcome. I mean, look, they went through the Zion injury, a new head coach, again, a David Griffin controversy, more injuries, preseason trades, and a blockbuster mid-season trade, on top of a plethora of other ups and downs throughout their season. However, fast forward to right now, and they got through it all. And that is something that they could be proud of. Don't get me wrong, their success was due to a lot of factors. Great coaching, a stellar rookie class, that big mid-season trade that I mentioned earlier, and just the overall grit and determination from everybody inside that organization. But hey, enough beating around the bush. Let's dive straight in and talk about how the New Orleans Pelicans were able to save their NBA season. What's going on, you guys? I just want to say it's good to be back with another video. As always, please remember to give this video a like, share with anybody you want to, and subscribe to my channel. I'll greatly appreciate any support you're willing to give. And as always, if you're interested in anything I do outside of YouTube, please remember to check me out on Instagram and TikTok at SportsButCasually. Both links to my social medias will be in a link tree in the description below. Now, let's get into the video. So, coming into the 2021-22 NBA season, the New Orleans Pelicans had expectations. Not a lot, but some. They were expected to, at the minimum, fight for a spot in the play-in tournaments, with the hopes that playoff basketball returns to the Big Easy for the first time since the 2017-18 season. And it was reasonable to assume that the Pels would be there. They had Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, both former All-Stars who just averaged 20-plus points per game last season. Not to mention, they had a roster full of young players who the Pels were banking on to take a big step this season. All seemed to be trending upwards for them. Until September 27th, 2021, the media day for the New Orleans Pelicans. And that's where Executive VP David Griffin announced that former first overall pick, Zion Williamson, the messiah for this small market franchise, had undergone foot surgery. It was during the off-season that Zion had to undergo surgery to repair a fractured 5th metatarsal bone in his right foot. The undisclosed injury had understandably shocked fans, media, and players alike, especially, the season ticket holders. This was his 3rd major injury in his short professional career, and it was the injury that forced him to miss the entire 2021-22 season. Zion's injury casted a shadow of doubt and skepticism over the Pelicans' chances this season, especially after the up and down off-season that they went through. You see, in the off-season, the Pelicans went through a sort of redemption arc, if you would, as they spent a lot of their time trying to correct the mistakes they made last season. The first order of business was firing head coach Stan Van Gundy, who was brought in last season to replace Alvin Gentry. They would soon hire his replacement in Willie Green. Green, a former player, spent the last 5 years as an assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns, where he has made multiple finals appearances and has won 2 championships with the Warriors. The next item on the agenda was to get rid of the awful contracts of both Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe, which they successfully did as part of a 3-team trade where they sent the both of them to the Grizzlies along with the 10th overall pick Zion Williamson and the 40th overall pick in Jared Butler. Not to mention a 2022 first round pick from the Lakers. I mean, yeah, they gave up a lot, but the Pels won this trade as they acquired the best player in it. Big Science himself, Jonas Valanciunas. Valanciunas made his way to New Orleans along with the 17th and the 51st overall pick in Trey Murphy and Brandon Boston Jr. respectively. They wanted Valanciunas because not only is he younger and a better center than Adams is right now, but because he has the ability to space the floor. Since Valanciunas has a 3-ball in his arsenal, that makes him kind of the perfect big man to pair along Zion Williamson. On offense, Valanciunas doesn't have to be in the paint all the time, can stretch the floor, leaving less defenders in the paint for Zion to go against, hopefully get some easier buckets. And on defense, Valanciunas is a terrific shot blocker and a terrific defender. So he covers the paint and Zion Williamson doesn't have to be banging bodies in the paint on defense and on offense. So this physicality toll will hopefully be a lot less and will eventually, hopefully keep him healthier. So it's a win-win, wow, on both ends. Now you might be thinking, these are all, positive, good moves. I thought you said it was an up and down off season. Where are all the downs? Let's start off with the fact that they traded Lonzo Ball. He's still relatively young, he's a solid playmaker, he's a terrific defender, and he's gotten better and better every season at spacing the floor and shooting from 3. What's worse, the package they got in return for him? Complete trash. Complete garbage. But it did not stop there. After their failed attempts in signing Kyle Lowry in the offseason, aka the greatest Raptor of all time and my favorite player, they had an empty need at the point guard position. You didn't get Kyle, you traded Lonzo away. What are you going to do? I mean, it was addressed. Remember how I said the Bledsoe and Adams deal was a 3-team trade? Well, the third team involved were the Hornets, and they sent over Devontae Graham in a sign and trade. Graham is an inefficient volume 3-point shooter who, on top of that, is not a really good defender. Admittedly, I didn't think the contract or the trade was really that bad, but using my power of hindsight, it kinda is. Also, they traded Boston Jr. away to the Clippers for basically nothing. I know he was ass at Kentucky and all of that, but I still think he had a lot of potential. So for the Pels to basically give him away for the free skis, it wasn't that cool to me. But in hindsight, I wouldn't sweat it too much as the Pelicans absolutely killed the draft and had a stellar rookie class of Trey Murphy, Herbert Jones, and undrafted free agent Jose Alvarado. Okay, enough. With the offseason covered, let's get into the beginning of this season. And it was bad. it was pretty bad. I mean, I told you they started 1-12. Ingram did miss games during that time, but still, things were looking as bleak as ever. But then, their rookie head coach, Willie Green, made 2 key adjustments. First, he encouraged his team to play faster and make better decisions as quickly as possible. Secondly, he inserted defensive sensation Herbert Jones into the starting lineup. Now, if you want to learn more about the first adjustment that Green made and the philosophy that he preached to his team, Christian Clark wrote a fantastic article on it over on NOLA.com, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below. With the said adjustments, the Pelicans began to scratch and claw their way back into the play-in hunt. From December 1st to February 7th, the Pelicans went 15-15. Nice, solid 500 basketball. They also made a few more adjustments along the way, like giving more minutes to pesky undrafted rookie Jose Alvarado, and playing third-year big man Jackson Hayes at the power forward position. A position where he truly shined and developed this season. Despite all the improvements, the Pelicans were not satisfied. They sat 10th in the West with a record of 21-32, but they wanted more. Not only for this season, but for the future with Zion Williamson. You see, around the trade deadline, it was pretty clear that Zion's rehab process wasn't going as well as they hoped, and he was probably going to miss the rest of the season. However, the Pelicans didn't have the luxury of phoning it in this season, as they were facing increased pressure in keeping their glass cannon superstar happy and in New Orleans. So, they made a trade. On the 8th of February, the New Orleans Pelicans traded for CJ McCollum, one half of the Trailblazers' dynamic backcourt. CJ is a gifted scorer, a walking bucket if you would, and he has a lot of playoff experience, which made him a great veteran for this relatively young Pelicans team. They also got Larry Nance Jr. in the trade, who is a very, very good role player. I mean, in all honesty, besides Josh Hart, they didn't really have to give up much to get CJ, as they had a lot of draft capital. But yes, with CJ, the Pelicans now gained another guy who could create his own shot, handle the rock, and distribute to others. This would take a lot more pressure off of Brandon Ingram and allow for the offense in New Orleans to become more dynamic. This trade would make an immediate impact, as from March 10th to the end of the regular season, the Pelicans went 14-14. Once again, solid 500 basketball. This is despite Brandon Ingram missing 13 games within that stretch. They also committed to a two big man starting lineup with Hayes and Valanciunas, which brought them success. Speaking of successful lineups, their 5-man lineup of Herb, CJ, Ingram, Hayes, and Valanciunas only played 10 games together in the regular season, but went an impressive 7-3. Out of all the 5-man lineups who played more than 120 regular season minutes together, they had the 5th best offensive rating and were one of the best rebounding units. Now, they had one of the worst defensive ratings out of them, but hey, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, what can I say? With their retooled roster, the Pelicans went into the play-in tournament and took care of business. First, beating the Spurs at home, and then snatching the 8th seed from the above 500 Los Angeles Clippers. Despite falling to the 1 seed in 6 games, they had a lot of promise and bright spots from this young team, where they got great individual play from both Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones. Look, and I know how it seems, from the outside. Being 5 games under 500 and losing in the first round of the playoffs might not seem like a good season to most. But for a young team who is missing their best player and being led by a rookie head coach, having to go through all of that, through their horrible start, through all the controversies that they went through, to make it that far, go through the play-in tournament and take 2 games off the 1 seed, I think the Pelicans would look back at the 2021-22 season as a huge success. I mean, just look at it. B.I. proved that he could still be a number 1 option. CJ gives this team a offensive punch that it really needed. The rookies, Herb, Alvarado, and Murphy would only contribute more next season. Valanciunas is still a beast. Jackson Hayes finally kind of had a breakout season. This was a pretty good season for them. But the piece that I think was the most important and played the biggest role in their success was Willie Green. Bro, it just seemed that Willie Green dealt with controversy ever since day 1. But he didn't let that affect him. Plus, his clever schemes that he uses brought out the best in his players this season. The best part about Willie Green for me is that I think his personality is really suited for today's NBA and the players in today's NBA. I think his time in a winning organization and a winning culture in the Bay Area really helped him develop and know how to get through to players and their different personalities and get the best out of them. He knows when to be a hard ass to his players and just cuss them out for doing some stupidness. But at other times, he knows when to just throw his arm over his players and just give them some positive reinforcements. Pelicans fans, it might have taken a long while, but y'all got a really good coach. Be happy about that. My hope, and I'm sure all Pelicans fans hope as well, is that they use the success they had this season as a building block for future success. I mean, look, next season you'll get Zion back. I mean, hopefully. Which will make this team at least 1,000 times better. That's a little dramatic, but you get my point. It's still too early to say, but if everything goes right, hopefully next season the Pelicans are one of the teams out west watching the play-in tournament instead of participating in it. Yo, what's up everybody? Hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, please remember to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share with anybody you want to. And I shall see you all again for my next video. Take care, and later.